Well, good evening to all of our Diamond devotees, and welcome to another episode of the Baseball Bums. I am Benny Scala, aka The Player. Now, you may know me from my 1972 gold record entitled "Your Daddy Don't Dance Because Your Mama's Got Him by the Pole."
I hope that pole's sturdy enough not to fall off of. Go
I'm
on.
being sued by Loggins and Messina, but if we are bums, then,
Yeah,
then
probably.
then I am joined by my fellow icon of inertia, the great Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you?
Inertia? What is
Icon
he?
of inertia. Yeah,
What is that last fancy word mean? Even I don't know that one. What does it
inertia
mean?
means a lack of motion.
Lack of motion.
Yes.
I never said still. Oh
I
boy,
know.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with that one.
I think I peaked at with Ron Shaw at the Earl of Upsets. It's been downhill since then. Like at least at least I got that one on my resume. So Jimmy,
Oh
what I'm
boy.
gonna do is I'm gonna play the role of the batting practice pitcher, and I'm gonna lay some big old fat pitches up there, and you're gonna
All
do what
right.
you always do, and which is knock them out of the park. You ready?
Fair enough.
All
Hit it.
right. So we're gonna start with this guy. He is his name is Anthony Rendon, and he in 2019 plays for the Washington Nationals, hits 319, 34 homers, 126 ribbies, comes in third in the MVP, wins a Silver Slugger, picks up a World Series ring. Great, right? And
Yeah.
then he follows the money, signs a 7-year, $245 million contract with the Los Angeles Angels. So now he is in year 6 of his contract, but I'm going to give you his first 5-year totals. For the first 5 years, I played a total of 257 games, 22 homers, 138 ribbies. His highest batting average was the first season, 286. And then in the next four, he's hit 240, 229, 236. And what do we got here? 218. So now for that incredible 5-year body of work, he has earned, and I have that in quotes, $175 million. Now, one could say that he'll make up for it this year. But the only problem there is that he's going to pick splinters out of his ass all season. He's out for the season, probably for next as well. The rumor has it that he will be released and paid out. So should this guy be wanted for grand theft?
Well, this is what's wrong with professional sports. This is what wrecks everything anyway. Um, it's hard enough for the everyday person who supports baseball by going to the games to look past the fact that the players make ridiculous amounts of money and the owners are obviously incredibly wealthy. But when you see something like this, it hurts the team that you're supporting because now you're stuck paying this guy forever. In any other job, does it really go down like this? Where you're able to get ridiculous amounts of money, way more than you should be getting in the first place. And then if you don't perform for services rendered, you get to keep the money. This hurts the club that you're rooting for if you're a fan. It continues to piss you off because, you got an everyday job and these guys are making a fortune. This may very well be one of the worst contracts ever in the history of Major League Baseball. I started thinking about the numbers you were giving me, and basically what you're telling me is that for the following years that he was supposed to be doing what he did in Washington, the reason he was signed was 30 plus, 120 plus, correct? So he gets to get all this money, and from what you're telling me, he's averaging 40 games a year over the last half a decade. And who on earth would say to somebody, "Oh, don't worry, he could always make it up this year"? What are you talking about? It was a 7-year contract, and he has toilet flushed 5 of them, Ben.
Yeah, and he hasn't played a game this year. He's got some kind of hip issue, supposedly out for the year, and they're saying he might not play next year. And then they're probably just going to cut bait and give this guy his money. So I mean, in the real world, we do a great job. Say we do a great job, and some other employer notices us, and they
Uh-huh.
say, hey, we'll give you double what you're making right now. It's like hot damn, sure. But then you go there and you're a dud. What's going to happen? You're going to get bounced out on your ass.
Right. And in most jobs, there's not contracts signed. Let's be honest.
Right, of
You know what I'm
course. No, but
saying?
I
I
mean,
mean,
they'll,
they're
they'll
getting
agree to
these
pay you a certain wage.
they're getting these ridiculous contracts. I think about Jacoby Ellsbury. What a stain. What a stain that contract was. He got a fortune. Well, he was here for 7 years. Wasn't that the contract, right? The
I
first year
believe
he
so,
kind of
yeah.
did. The first year he kind of did okay, and then the following 6 was absolute horseshit. I know I'm harder on DJ LeMahieu than a lot of people, but I'm tired of watching this with DJ LeMahieu was good for us 5 years ago. How is he still on the team? Why are they still penciling him in like, well, he's going to, oh, look, he's hurt again. He's been hurt for 5 seasons. His batting average has stunk for. He was a lethal weapon the first couple of years he came to us, but he hasn't been nothing for 5 years now. So it's another example of what. Why is he still here? Why are you stuck paying him?
Right. Well, how about
It's what's
Giancarlo?
wrong.
I mean, Stanton hasn't played a game this year, right? I don't know how
Stanton
much money
drives me.
he's getting.
Stanton drives me crazy. And Stanton is the biggest example of torture because unlike the guys we've previously mentioned, he's played more than them, the guys we've previously mentioned, but he's still hurt all the time. And what makes it more painful is that we've watched him when it is the postseason, he's the most reliable guy. So it's like, oh crap, this guy can hit in the clutch. It's like, damn it, why are you never healthy? And he's
Right.
getting top tier money. So obviously, though, the great Aaron Judge isn't bothered by the lack of Soto or Giancarlo because look at what he's doing. He's hitting for something, Ben. What is going
Yeah,
on?
but let me just take a quick look. Juan Soto, he's making I think 51 million this year,
Okay. He's hitting
and
233.
233 in 25 games, 3 homers, 12 ribbies,
Yeah.
and another guy who's making a lot of money, Shohei Ohtani. Although
Yeah.
I kind of think he's going to come around, but he's let me see, he's hitting about 260 with about 8 ribbies.
Wow.
And he hasn't pitched yet. He was supposed to pitch this year.
Eh. Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's no Babe Ruth. Oh,
I mean, what Jimmy, though, like to me, back in the day, Mantle, he wins the Triple Crown. He waits for his contract in the mail from who is it, George Weiss or Dan
yeah.
Topping, whoever the GM was back then. And he gets his contract and he opens it, and it's the same number he got paid last year, and all he did was win the Triple Crown with like 53 homers, 150 ribbies, and hit like 360, whatever the hell he hit. And he
Yeah.
gets they're not even giving him a raise, and then he's got to go back and forth, and eventually they give him a little bit of a raise. But there was always that carrot dangling in front of him that you want big money, you gotta perform. And now
Right.
it's like, I mean, Randon had one good season, and they're paying him $250 million.
It's a
to
bad
do
contract.
nothing.
You got to know better. It's just a bad contract. You don't lock up somebody, after only 1 year of proving that they can be a top tier player. It's not enough. It's just not a smart move. It wasn't a smart move. Listen, when we signed Stanton, it was not a dumb move.
No,
Giancarlo
God, no. I
Stanton
mean,
would,
that guy put a
that's why Stanton is different from the other two that we're talking about. Giancarlo Stanton's going to have Hall of Fame debatable numbers by the time it's all said and done with him. It's not like he's a bad player. He's a good player. It's like, damn it, why are you never healthy? That's the problem with him. By the way, getting back to what you were just saying about how Mantle every year had to prove himself, had to prove himself, had to prove himself. And we point out the ridiculous contract that Soto has right now and the fact that he's hitting 233 with a dozen RBIs. Motivation, my friend. That's what I'm getting at. When you talked about Mantle, who is the most motivated New York Met right now? It is Pete Alonso. Benny, guess who's leading the team while they're in first place with the best record in baseball, by the way? Guess who's leading the team in home runs, RBIs, and batting average?
I'm going to guess Pete Alonso.
Yeah, you guessed correctly, because he's been slighted in today's day and age of baseball. All salaries are inflated, but you know what he went through in the offseason. He was left to hang until they were done getting their precious Soto into the building and taking him from the Yankees and having a 15-year insane contract and all that other good stuff. Well, there's Soto with 12 RBIs. I think Pete's got 26. He's got 6 home runs, and he's hitting 341. Someone's motivated. So I guess, you know what?
I mean,
I almost
obviously,
wish everybody was forced to be that way.
The last year was. What do you mean? How so? Like back in the
I
day,
wish
you played for your
everybody was
contract,
forced
right?
to be motivated that way, that contracts were not so damn long term, that you were forced to prove yourself, at least the most anybody should get nowadays, because we've seen the way that it'll never happen.
Well, and guess
You
what
know,
would have happened if Mantle hit 212 with 19 homers and 50 ribbies? That
no, he's
next
done.
contract, what do you think is going to happen?
No, he's cut. They wouldn't even have that out there. They would be looking to replace him. The numbers that
Right,
the batting
right.
averages are so abysmal. I know we beat a dead horse, but I cannot believe these batting averages. The New York Yankees The Yankees are in first place. They've won twice as many home games as they've lost. They have a winning record on the road. You'd figure there's little to complain about. And I look up and down the roster today. I look at the batting averages, and here we are again. Outside of Aaron Judge, who's hitting like Ty Cobb right now, batting average speaking, and Goldschmidt, who is hitting like Tony Gwynn, batting average
Yeah.
speaking, every single other player. Benny, I prorated Chisholm's numbers, Jazz's, for the season, and he would wind up with around maybe, I don't know, like 15 to 20 home runs, 90 RBIs with a 161 batting average. 161! I don't want someone. I don't care if you're going to knock in 90 runs with a 161 batting average. Get off my team.
That's Mark Belanger batting average, but Mark Belanger was a human vacuum cleaner.
He was, yeah, but he also had a home run and 20 RBIs. I mean, in today's day and age, you can't have a Mark Belanger either. But
Right.
I mean, the numbers, like, that's sad, by the way. You can't have a Mark Belanger. He won a championship as the shortstop with the Orioles, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Couple.
It was baseball was different back then. Shortstops were scrappy little ball players. They played good defense. They usually hit at the bottom of the order. They would make things happen for you defensively and try to be scrappy.
But they would contribute. They would contribute offensively, because we're going to talk about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will. Yeah, we definitely will. But I would prefer contracts to sum this up, like, to me, and I know they'll never do it because the players union would fucking have a conundrum on their hands. 3 years max for anybody. You got to prove yourself. 3 years max. You go through your 3-year contract, and then, the team that signed you to the 3-year max gets to talk to you first. That's got to be a guarantee. And if you can't come to terms, then he gets a chance to take other offers. To me, it would work better. It would keep players on their fucking toes. You're still going to be disgustingly wealthy, And no, don't cry me a River Players Union for the guy, like we pointed out to start this show, this Mr. Rendon fella, where, well, what about his future? Well, fuck his future. If he can't perform, he's being paid to perform. This guy should not be this wealthy, Benny. This Rendon. What the hell's going on? This is ridiculous. There's children. My parents used to tell me, there's children starving in China. Finish your food. Sorry.
Right.
Throw that in.
I used to ask, it's really funny. I used to ask my parents for an envelope so I could mail the food to them. That didn't sit too well. Yeah, that didn't work well. Not a good ending with that one. No.
Did you have a nightmare? Did you have a nightmare meal that my mom was like clockwork. Like every week, on a certain day, she'd make a certain something. Did you ever have a meal during the week where you're like, oh no, it's so and so night? Because for me, it was corned beef and cabbage night. I was like, oh no, she's gonna make me eat this stuff.
My mom, I tell people, growing up in my house was like living in an Italian restaurant. But it's really funny you said that, because now that she would make liver and onions, which I hated. But yeah, no, but we didn't have to eat that. That was like, Saturday afternoon for her and my dad. That was not required by us.
Okay, so you got a free pass.
I will tell you, it's kind of funny you said that. The one thing that she made that I did not like was corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, really? So you understand this pain? I was like, no,
totally.
Not the corned beef and cabbage.
No.
Oh, and the whole house would smell like a sock for like a day.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, oh no, not that. No.
It was the one chink in her armor.
Yeah.
I don't know why
this is a baseball show, but one more quick question: did you have to take a bag lunch to school, or were you given money every day to eat the school hockey pucks that they called hamburgers?
I had my choice.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah,
I had my choice. It depended what was on the menu, but
yeah. Okay, I had to take a bag lunch.
I liked the fillet of haddock. That was one of my favorites.
Okay, all right.
Even though I never saw a square fish, you know, but
Yeah,
the haddock
yeah.
was always square.
Yeah,
But no,
my parents were lead wallets. So basically, once a week, only when they had the one time a week, they had the hamburgers with the potato puffs and the corn. I was like, "Can I get that, please?" So I would get that once a week. Otherwise, it was peanut butter and jelly and yodels that would melt by lunchtime. You ever try to eat a yodel off an aluminum foil when it's been sweating all day in your bag? Doesn't sound right, does it?
oh
A
no.
yodel?
Well,
No, it
then
doesn't sound right.
at that point, doesn't the the skin kind of sticks to the wrapping, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was sitting there pulling it
Yeah,
apart from the
you lose half the shell when you
the
unpeel it.
whole the whole effect of the lunch was gone. I'm like, man, this
Right.
just
Yeah.
ruins everything.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You need no. I like me a cold yodel.
yeah. Oh yeah, I
Get 'em
agree.
out of the fridge with a glass of milk. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Well,
Even
let's get back to hot dogs and apple pie and baseball. There
yeah.
we go.
Well, speaking of another cash stealer here, we
Mm-hmm.
got Jacob DeGrom, ex of the New York Mets, the very talented
The
offered
club.
DeGrom. So Jimmy, he
Oh.
wins the Cy Young for two
Oh.
seasons. He's got two Cy
Yeah.
Youngs,
Yeah,
winning
he does.
21 and 17 in the two seasons combined, and he wins
Oh
two
yeah.
Cy Youngs.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I'm thinking like Tom Seaver's got to be scratching his head up above, wondering how many
No, no, yeah. Well, first of all, you can't compare the two. Tom Seaver, when you bring up Tom Seaver, you talk about guys like Nolan Ryan. Tom Seaver's rarefied air. What DeGrom was to me, it's a very sad case. Okay, DeGrom always played on piss poor teams for the most part. Agreed, for the most part in his career.
Yeah,
So he was usually putting up an ungodly ERA with a marginal one loss record, whether it was 13 and 12 that year or 12 and 10. He was never getting any help from his own team offensively.
he was the guy. He had the John Matlack numbers. Remember John Matlack?
Oh, sure, John Madden was good, but this guy was much better. And what I'm getting at here is that what's sad about DeGrom to me was the other Clayton Kershaw. And what I mean by that is his dominance. Kershaw has put up enough numbers over his career to get in. The sad thing with DeGrom is what numbers are there are clearly Hall of Fame. The ERA is ridiculous, Benny. I'm sorry. In any day and age, that's Hall of Fame stuff. He's made a fortune. I would not have invested in him long term. This is an example of a bad contract and not thinking it through because he's just so injury prone. And they should have known better. But he's certainly accomplished way more than our last subject. I mean, but it is ridiculous.
Well,
Is he out for
he
is he out for
has,
the
but
season again? Is he out for the
no,
season again?
no.
All
Degrom
right.
Degrom is no, but his first.
All
So
right.
he signed a 5-year contract.
Uh-huh.
He's in year 3 of a 5-year contract. So for the first 2 seasons, he won combined 2 games and
Right.
pitched 41 innings.
Right.
And for
He's
that,
hurt.
he earned $74 million.
Right.
And now he's healthy,
Right.
and he's going to make up for it, one might say. But so far, he's
No.
0-1.
You're not
And
making up for it. You've already dumped 3 years of your first. What's he doing
yeah,
this year? What's he doing this?
he's 0-1 in 5 starts, pitching about 20 innings. He's
What's
averaging
his?
4 innings a start, no wins. His ERA is now for him is a high 3.32. That was
Oh,
as
that's
of
still
yesterday.
good. That's still good.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's
But I
not
mean,
bad. It's not DeGrom. It's not DeGrom would be like 2.3, 2.4.
yeah.
If you know that. Again, Hall of Fame stuff. I don't think he's going to accumulate enough. It's
No,
to me it's sad.
well, nobody's getting in the Hall of Fame with 84 wins.
No,
So,
no,
unless you're a closer.
correct.
Then you need 500 saves.
Like if DeGrom had been healthy enough to like clear 150, because we've talked about guys in the past recently, like Dizzy Dean has 151 career wins, right? It's like, okay, so how did he get dominance for a certain time period? He didn't accumulate enough. I never would have signed. This is why I want 3 years at a clip, no matter who you are. So the team doesn't take a bath. It doesn't listen when the team takes a bath on a bad contract, like these long contracts, and they take a bath on it. Who do you think pays for it?
Well, the fans kind of do, but when you buy a ticket,
Thank you. And things get more expensive because they just took what was the amount that this kid got? To over $200 million. Yeah,
Rendon got
hot dogs. Hot dogs
245
and hey,
over
Benny, I got
7.
a great idea. Hot dogs and parking are going up next year. What do you think, buddy? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think that's what we're doing.
Well, I
So
mean,
these contracts kill everybody.
I told the last Rays game I was the Rays Yankees at the Trop. Paid $85 for a ticket. I was thirsty. I wanted a beer, and it was $25. I bought it, and then I did one of these. And the security guard said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, isn't that normally the protocol when you get robbed?"
Right.
And didn't really like that. I mean, $110 for a ticket to a game and a beer. That's crazy.
That is crazy. You know what? You're not that far from me. I was thinking about possibly meeting in Tampa Bay, maybe catching a Yankee game, but I don't want to. That's ridiculous. I'd rather watch a Tampa Bay Buck game. Have you been to any of those over there? I'd rather go to that.
Yes, yeah, great venue. No, what I do, Jimmy, on a Sunday, I go to the Clearwater. It's called Bright House Field in Clearwater. It's the Phillies, Florida State team, the Threshers.
Okay.
I get in for $7.
Wow.
I get a craft beer and a Philly cheesesteak. I watch a ball game. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm not going in the red.
I had mentioned to Karen that, because the Seminoles obviously have a baseball team, and historically they're pretty good. They haven't ever won the championship, but they're pretty good. And I think the name of the field, ironically, Benny, is Dick Hauser Stadium.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, I said to Karen one time last year, I was like, I kind of want to go watch a baseball game. And that's doable from where we live as far as getting over to Florida State, because I've seen the Seminoles play, and the Seminoles was an amazing experience. So I am curious about checking out the college thing. I bet you it's going to be more expensive than who you're seeing, though. I would think that I don't think I could get to see Florida State baseball for $7. I don't think so. I haven't looked into the prices.
No, I mean, but even $15-$20. I mean,
that's doable. Yeah,
yeah,
that's very doable. I mean,
the other team is the Dunedin Blue Jays, which is even closer to me. And sometimes on Wednesday, it's a $2 matinee. $2 to see a good baseball game, and it's a nice stadium, free parking.
Right.
Like when I went to go see the Yankees this spring with my friend Paul, I think we paid $25 just to park. This is an exhibition game we're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of small market or smaller teams, smaller levels of the Major League Baseball, I'll never forget. Back in the days when I was working in the collectible business, Bud Harrelson comes into the store. Now, don't forget, it's Long Island, Benny. Bud Harrelson is he's a local. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Bud Harrelson walks in, and it's the mid '90s, I want to say, getting towards the late '90s. And he was talking with us at the sports card counter. He was coming in to look for some stuff, and he ran an idea past us. He was like, I'm thinking about getting a professional baseball team out here on Long Island. He was talking about the Long Island Ducks, and that's how the Ducks came about. And I remember telling him, I was like, yeah, you should do that, man. Where are you going to put it? And he was saying, like, he was thinking about over at the old Central Islip Psychiatric Center where the campus is nowadays and stuff like that. He was thinking about, and that's where they put it. It's a nice experience. It was affordable.
It's a very nice. I've been there a few times. Very nice field.
Yeah, and major leaguers have passed through there. For God's sakes, John Rocker was a Long Island Duck. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, John Rocker was trying to get back into the pros, and oddly enough, the very city that he hated and he was hated by back in the late '90s when he was the closer for the Braves, he tried. He came to the Long Island Ducks for a season to try to get the scouts to get him back to the major leagues.
Yeah, to me, it's minor league baseball and indie wrestling. I'm not gonna pay $400 to see sit in a nosebleed seat and watch WrestleMania. I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that either. But I will say this much: the indie wrestling has really lost me. Mike and I attended enough. We saw enough. I was like, nah, nope, this doesn't work. If I ever see one that comes along and I know it works, I'll know it when I see it. I mean, for God's sakes, I saw ECW in a high school. I knew what I was looking at. I was in a high school, so when a company's really onto something, and if they're on their way up or down, or if it's just nowhere land. And sadly enough, it seems to be mostly nowhere land.
Right. No, I hear you. So let me bring up this guy.
Yeah.
who is near and dear to us. Little Anthony. Yeah, he's in his third year as a starting
There he
shortstop.
is.
We've talked about him at length. So I know the season is young, but little Anthony is, to quote Joe Namath, struggling. I had this as of yesterday. He's 25 games, hitting 198. He's struck out 31 times. So he has knocked in 15 runs. He is playing a good shortstop, but so there's that. But we've talked about what we would expect from this guy. And Jimmy, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to display the starting shortstops from all of the great Yankee teams, and I want to see how they stack up against our current number 11. So
this
here
is
we
going to
go.
be brutal.
Went too fast there. All right, first guy from the 1923.
Now, Benny, I got to tell the folks at home. I mean, it looks to me like you've done your homework because the first championship is 1923.
Correct? Yes, sir.
Who are we looking at?
That is Everett Scott.
Okay.
Hit 6 homers, 61 ribbies, 246. So I mean, solid, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. For those days, it was the batting average is completely acceptable in those days, and today, this guy would be third on the team in batting average on today's Yankees. By the way, which is
right?
really, really sad when you think about it. It's incredibly sad, but 61 RBIs, not bad. Not bad at all. That's actually the most impressive stat for 1923 for a guy who's hitting at the bottom of the order. That's not bad. So he did a good job. For the time period. I would say that's a very solid shortstop. Very solid. Totally acceptable. Yep.
Next guy, Mark Koenig. I guess we'll say his name right. So from the 27 and 28 Yankees.
Wow.
1927, 3 homers, 62 ribbies, 285 average.
Lovely.
Right?
Lovely.
Then next year, 28 Yankees. He four homers, 63 ribbies, 319 batting average.
Fantastic.
Right? And,
fantastic.
Both seasons combined, Jimmy, 2 seasons combined, only struck out 40 times.
Wow. So, solid defense, high contact hitter, and hit for great average.
Yeah,
wow.
Putting the ball in play, right? That's the name of the game.
I'm very impressed with the batting average. 319 second, like 285 is really outstanding for a shortstop back in the 1920s. That's fantastic. That's super solid. And then he follows it up with 319.
319. Yep.
This is the bottom of the batting order that features Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Earl Combs, Tony Lazzari, and Bob Musial. I mean, are you serious?
Was Dickey on the team yet or not yet?
Excuse me? Dickey?
Was Dickey on the team yet?
Oh, God. Dickey comes in soon if he's not there yet.
Yeah.
I think Dickey's more the 30s.
I think he's early 30s. I think you're right.
Yeah. I believe possibly even 1930 itself. I'm not sure.
All right.
Maybe 29. Go on.
Here we go. All right. I don't think I ever saw this guy young, Frank Crissetti. I remember him as the hunched over third base coach of the Yankees back in the 60s. But the guy played shortstop forever, and he was solid.
Growing up, my father was obviously, a passionate Yankee fan from the Bronx, and there were 2 shortstops, 2 that only ever were brought up that mattered historically, and it was always Rizzuto, and before him, Crissetti. And I think Crissetti is getting lost in the sands of time, Benny, because Crissetti was a great, great shortstop for them. I believe that Frank Crissetti is the 3rd greatest shortstop in the history of this franchise, and no one talks about him, Benny. No one.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting shortstop on 6 World Championship seasons.
Right. And how many years did he play for them? What was his first year to his last year? You're talking a long time.
Give me 1 second here.
Sure. I would say he had over 15 years.
Yeah, he did. Oh, he did. He might have lost a season or 2 from the war, but hang on.
Right, like so many did.
No, he played 17 years.
17
all with the
seasons.
Yankees.
All with the Yankees.
Now towards the end, he didn't start. He got replaced by Rizzuto. But hang on 1 second. Yeah, I mean,
He's
so
the
in
he's the
1930,
shortstop. He's the shortstop on the run from 1936, 37, 38, 39, and that's where Bill Dickey is there, Benny. And it's not only he killing it, so is Joe
that
DiMaggio
is
and
correct.
Luke
You know, and it's funny.
and
36,
uh-huh.
one of his
And Lou Gehrig.
36,
Joe
he hits.
DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig. Oh
Yeah,
my God. And that's Joe McCarthy's New York Yankees. Joe McCarthy is now doing what only Casey Stengel could match in the process of 7 championships. Oh my
right.
God. How is Frankie Crissetti not at least? Is there a plaque for this man in Monument Park?
I would
Because there
hope so.
should be.
Well,
I don't think there is,
the,
Benny.
uh, if there's not, there should be. 1936,
Yeah.
15 homers, 78 ribbies,
Oh my God.
288,
Yeah.
and he makes the All-Star team. In
Uh-huh.
1938, he's 955 and 263, and he's 29th in the MVP voting. So I mean, you might think
Right.
like, well, that's not 9 homers, 55 ribbies, 263, but he's
For a,
voted the 29th
for a
best
short
ball player in the American League.
for a shortstop, and when we get to the 70s, we'll remember these numbers because for a shortstop, if you did that in the 1970s, you're a stud.
Right. Now,
You know?
very
What?
unheralded Yankee, correct?
Oh my God! And I don't think there's a plaque for Frankie Crissetti, but I know this much: when my father would throw the names out from the past, they were the names that mattered. And Crissetti and Rizzuto were always like bacon and eggs when my father would refer to the shortstops. You know, Tommy Hendrick. It wasn't always the DiMaggio and Mantle names that were thrown out there, but when other names were thrown out, I knew they were thrown out at me for a reason. Tommy Hendrick, oh reliable. Look him up.
Unreliable, right?
You know, look him up. I mean, he's almost like
Yeah,
their
even
Paul O'Neill before
remember
Paul O'Neill.
Charlie Keller, King Kong Keller,
King Kong
another guy.
Keller, my good Lord, you know. Those later additions, like we used to do in the 90s when we'd add a Chili Davis or Darryl Strawberry, like a guy like Johnny Mize, who came to the
Yeah, the big
Yankees and
cat. Oh
who
yeah,
contributed, you know. There's so many guys, but Crissetti, though, you're talking 17 years as a Yankee and 6 championships and great shortstop, man. I think he's the 3rd greatest in the history of the franchise.
2, 3, 6. All right. Well, the next guy is probably the 2nd greatest then.
Yep.
Escuda.
Holy cow!
All right. So
This picture obviously was not taken when it was lightning out, because if it was lightning, Rizzuto would be on his way over the bridge and on his way home. Holy cow!
So Jimmy, he lost some time because of the war, but his rookie season, 1941 rookie season, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 homers, 46 ribbies, 307 batting average, comes in 20th in the MVP in his rookie season.
Yeah, it's a great hello. I've arrived. You know the story of how difficult it was for Phil to even get into the majors. Didn't he try out for Casey Stengel in the Brooklyn Dodgers at the time? And Casey said, "You're too small. Go find another way to make a living." You know, and Rizzuto was a tiny guy, but somehow he got his chance with the Yankees, and obviously, look what happened. That's an incredible rookie season.
Right now, from 40, let's see, from 49 through 53. Well, that was the 5 years, right?
Correct.
They won. All
5
right.
in a row.
So Rizzuto is in 49, 5 homers, 65 ribbies, 275 batting average, 2nd in the most valuable player. 1950, 7 homers, 66 ribbies, 324, wins the MVP.
MVP.
51, 243, 274, 11th, 52, 243, 254, 14th, and then 53, 254, and 271. So, I mean, even the year before, he hits 254, drives in 43 runs, but they vote him 14th in MVP. I mean, that just shows how valuable he was.
Well, Ted Williams himself said that the reason why the Yankees always got the rings was because of Phil Rizzuto. Ted Williams said if we had had Phil Rizzuto, we would have had the rings. And I always thought that was a really crazy statement. I'm like, wow, what do you mean? But Ted Williams obviously felt that Rizzuto's complete package and what he gave you on the field was just a Hall of Fame level rabble rousing shortstop. Phil made things happen, and he was obviously impeccable in the field.
Right.
He made things happen. He was the consistent. He was the greatest shortstop. It took him forever to get in the Hall of Fame, and I never knew why it took so long. Thank God he was alive when he got in.
Yeah,
By
I'm
the
I'm
way,
happy with.
I was there the day that the cow kicked him, and he broke a rib. I was there that day.
When did
You
that
remember?
happen?
Well, it was they were celebrating his Hall of Fame induction. It was Phil Rizzuto Day, and they brought he says "Holy cow," so they brought a cow out there. The damn thing kicked him.
Oh, jeez.
Fell on his ass and broke his rib. Oh my God! You don't remember
That's
that?
horrible. Like that should be the best day of his life.
Holy cow! Yeah, I don't know
Wow.
what took so long. I don't know what took so long to get him in.
No, but just I mean, and then I mean, just like a Yankee for all those years as a great broadcaster, and it's what we grew up with. Listening to Phil Rizzuto.
I loved Phil Rizzuto. Phil Rizzuto was hilarious, and like I said, anytime it would rain, he'd leave. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. He wanted to beat the traffic over the
Yeah,
GW Bridge, right?
yeah, yeah.
To
And
get
well, he
back to his
also
house
didn't
in New
like thunder.
Jersey.
He didn't like thunder and lightning. That
Huh?
was something that was very consistent with him. If they were having a rain delay and it started thunder and lightning, he'd go hide, and Rizzuto and White would have to continue. They'd make fun of him too. It was really
Oh, did
funny.
he really?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Rizzuto was like, "Oh, I'm out of here, White." The second you'd hear thunder, he's out. He's out of there. He's like
Left it
going to
to
hide in the bathroom or something. He didn't like it.
that was. I tell you what. That's what Bill White, Frank Messer, and Phil Rizzuto.
Oh, they were great.
Oh my
They,
God,
they all
we were
bounced off
spoiled.
each other. They all bounced off each other so well. I mean, Bill White and Phil Rizzuto, you wouldn't think would be that. It's an odd couple, but it was a great odd couple, and you had Messer as the professional middle guy, and they all worked very well with each other, and it was just they were great.
Yeah,
They really were. They really
no,
were great.
we were
Is Bill,
blessed.
is Bill White in the Hall of Fame yet? Because he really should be by now
I
as a
don't think
player.
he is. I mean, he was a
I,
great ball player too.
yeah, we're gonna have to revisit him sometime. Maybe we'll make him one of our topics next week or something.
Yeah, he was solid. All right,
Yeah.
so here's somebody that you wouldn't even think of when you list shortstops, but he for one season, Gil McDougall,
Mm.
1956, and it was because I believe Kubek was injured, Tony Kubek, and McDougall was the third baseman actually, third and
Right.
second. They moved him to short.
Second. Yeah.
What does he do? 13 homers, 56 ribbies, 311 batting average, seventh
Right.
in the MVP.
Talk about a forgotten Yankee. My father did throw his name out there, though. Here we go again. When my father mentioned somebody, they must have done something, and you're hammering home because I did wonder. He did talk about him from time to time. It sounds to me like in 1956, when my dad's 24 years old, that this Mr. McDougall fellow was pretty damn important in '56.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was.
Seventh in MVP is nothing to sneeze at. You know how many studs
Right.
are playing baseball in 1956?
I think he was one of the ones that I don't know who he got traded for, but
Okay,
I mean, the Yankees had that shuttle going with the Kansas City Athletics,
right.
and I mean, of course, they got back way more than they gave.
Oh yeah, they used to fleece them all the time. They were known as their farm team.
Yeah, they're almost like their AAA team in the major leagues.
Yeah, why didn't we make the Tampa Bay Rays? Our AAA
We
for
need
like.
to do that. Yeah, now that they're they're
Yeah,
playing in our ballpark, right?
yeah, we should be doing that. We should be fleecing them of their next whoever, like a Marlins Josh Beckett. Oh, look at what we have here.
Yeah, do like when Andre the Giant, just use one of the some of their players as attractions when we need them. All
I'll
right,
take
so
this one. Oh,
all
there he
right,
is.
here's love Tony Kubek. So from in 58 and 61, he was their shortstop. In 58, 2 homers, 48 ribbies, 265, makes the All-Star team. 1961, 846, 276.
Hmm.
Again, an All-Star. He would hit 260, 270 and play very good defense. Not a lot of
Yeah.
power, did knock in a lot of runs, but they didn't really need him to.
No, they didn't, and he was productive. He had a good batting average too for a shortstop in those days. Obviously injuries killed him, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
should have had more of a career. He was definitely I could have easily seen him playing like 15 years and stuff. How long did he last? Because
I think he was out by the time he was 30.
right. Yeah, that's young.
Yeah,
That's young for anything.
I don't think he was even on the '64 Yankees that lost to the Cardinals. I don't think I think he was gone already.
Really. Really.
Yeah, yeah, very short
Yeah.
career. Like Bobby Richardson too. Bobby retired on his own accord. I think Tony did because of injuries. Both great ball
Right.
players.
Bobby Richardson, very good ball player.
Oh yeah,
Very good ball player. No doubt.
yes,
I would love to inspect his career, on a further episode too.
yeah. Good, decent average hitter, great glove.
Yeah.
Just all I ever did with him was
I
win.
I think he was of like he was an all-star a lot, Bobby Richardson. I'm
Oh
pretty sure he
yes,
was. Pretty
absolutely.
sure he was. Yeah, Kubek, that's unfortunate. Am I looking at Tom Tresh? What the hell's
You
going
are
on
looking
here?
at Tom Tresh, who was the
What's he
starting
doing here?
shortstop for the 1962 Yankees. Again, Kubek was injured.
Ah, that's
Tresh
right.
stepped in. And after that they put him back in the outfield. But you know
Yeah.
what? He did a lot better as a shortstop. He was his stats were 20 homers,
Mm-hmm.
93 ribbies, uh,
Mm.
286
Nice.
batting average,
Wow.
All Star, was 12th in the MVP, and he won the Rookie of the Year.
That's a monster season.
Yeah, unfortunately, it went downhill after that, but I
Yeah.
think he was often hurt as well.
He's fairly beloved though. I've always heard nice things about him from the people that got to see him play and stuff. That's a killer year. That really is. I mean, for shortstop.
That
Why
was yeah.
and they moved him off of shortstop for what reason? This is a hell of a year for a first year.
I think Kubek came back.
Oh no. Would you have moved him? I would have left him right where he was.
Yeah, they yeah, I mean he wasn't a bad outfielder, but
Was he a
I mean
bad
oh
shortstop defensively? I don't see anything
no,
here
not at
about.
all. No. And I mean look at the offense he put up.
Why are you moving him? I would have left him right where he was.
Who was it?
That
That
doesn't
was
make any
Hauk, right?
sense.
Ralph Hauk did that.
Yeah, 63. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Hauk moved him. That's all right. Hauk got moved, and then the rest was downhill after that anyway, after Hauk got
That's
moved.
right. All right. Going into a little bit more modern.
Hey, there he
Bucky.
is. No, that's not his full name. Say his full and middle name. Say it.
Well, you know what? I don't even know what it is.
What are you talking about? His name is Bucky fucking Dent. To
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. How did I miss that?
I'm like, hello. You played to win the game, and that's what Bucky did in 1978 in that playoff game. Hello.
Oh yeah. But so in '77, he's 849 and 247. Not great offensive numbers, but
Wait. Outside of Dave Concepcion at this point, no one's hitting home runs as far as shortstops goes.
well,
That's
even
why
Concepcion was maybe only hitting a dozen. I mean,
So,
and
believe it or not, going from the previous season with Fred Stanley as the shortstop when we won the pennant, Fred Stanley had 1 home run and 20 RBIs. Bucky came in and gave us 8 home runs and 49 RBIs, played a good shortstop, and almost hit 250 when Stanley hit like 220.
well, and the other thing is, we started talking about Volpe. Bucky struck out 28 times in 540 plate appearances. So he's putting the ball in play.
I prorated your numbers that you gave me, what Volpe's doing this year. He's on pace for 188 strikeouts, and you just told me that Bucky Dent struck out only 28 times in over 540 at-bats.
Right.
Anthony Volpe sucks. Absolutely sucks. Okay?
I don't think. I mean, he's a good shortstop, but he's not like Ozzie good, where you could forgive his numbers.
Ozzie, it's just completely insulting. Ozzie Smith for almost 2 decades was just an unbelievable vacuum.
You know
cleaner.
what? And
a clutch player who has a championship, and I mean, Volpe can't hit. I don't give a crap.
Ozzie was in his later years was not a bad average hitter. He learned how to hit.
Ozzie was a great ball player. I've never been against Ozzie Smith being in the Hall of Fame. Some people are like, oh, he's overrated. Overrated at what? Is he overrated at being clutch? Nope. Is he overrated at being defensively the greatest shot? No. Sorry. Ozzie Smith was a fucking vacuum. He was a vacuum, Am I picking Cal Ripken over him if I got to have one game and one shortstop? Yeah, I probably am. But what am I talking about here? You're talking about the greatest of the greatest, a debate between the greatest of the greatest. You know, does anybody really lose there? Bucky Dent was super clutch. By the way, who won the 1978 World Series MVP?
Was it the World Series MVP?
Yeah, 1978. He hit 417.
Was that Bucky?
You're looking at him. Yeah, you're looking at
Okay.
him. Yeah,
Wow. I'm
Bucky
thinking of
Dent
Reggie,
not
but that was the year before, right?
no, Reggie got it in 77 when he destroyed the
Right.
Dodgers. But the next year when they beat the Dodgers, it was Bucky Dent and Brian Doyle. And there's some famous videos of Tommy Lasorda walking back and forth in the dugout because the bottom of the order is in the process of annihilating his Dodgers. This was the 78 Dodger team that had four guys with 30 or more home runs. Four in the lineup. Four that had 30 or more home runs in 78 for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And here's the bottom of the order. Brian Doyle, and the only reason he's playing second base is because Willie Randolph got murdered by Hal McRae, if I'm not mistaken, and was injured. So Brian Doyle comes into the World Series, hits 438. Bucky Dent hits 417. They knock in a million runs. Bucky's usually knocking in Brian, or vice versa, whatever was going on. And Lasorda is walking back and forth in the dugout, looking at these two bottom of the order guys, and he screams out, "Who the fuck is this? Pie fucking trainer?" He couldn't believe it. He was being eaten alive by mosquitoes. Clutch mosquitoes. And that's what Bucky Dent was. Volpe has no clue what it's like to be clutch. 188 strikeouts he's going to wind up with this year if he keeps this going. Bucky Dent
Well,
was
I mean,
super solid, and very, very clutch. And he was a calming guy in the dugout. You know that, right? I mean, think about Bucky. People forget. Bucky Dent was a poster guy. Girls loved Bucky Dent. Do you remember? Because I do.
oh yeah,
Bucky Dent,
matinee
Bucky
idol.
Dent, Bucky Dent was a matinee idol when he was the shortstop for the Yankees, and he had all this attention on him, and the girls loved him, and he handled it like a pro. He was so classy in the Bronx Zoo that was going on around him with Reggie and Thurman and Billy and George, and they're fighting, and then this one's going to get traded, and that one's getting fired, and Bucky Dent was the calmest presence, and he was so clutch to what we needed because we didn't, as George said, when they got him. You're not winning the World Series with Fred Chicken Stanley. Get Bucky Dent's agent on the phone. Hello, you
Right.
know. I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
And the rest is history. Yeah,
Yeah,
Volpe struck out 167 times in his rookie season,
terrible,
156 last year,
bad,
and yeah, I mean, no,
bad.
and that's not going to cut it. And of
No.
course, got to go to what do we say about him? Jeez.
Well, then the greatest shortstop in Yankee history comes along, and one of the greatest players to ever play the game. I mean, talk about stepping in shit. And I recently posted it on my Facebook page. There's a great video of when Derek is still playing. You know, before he's been put in the Yankees minor league system, basically, and he already has the attitude that he would have with the Yankees. He knows where he is, and he knows where he wants to go, and he's keeping everything in perspective. This was the calmest. You know, I talked about Bucky Dent being a calming factor. There's nothing calmer than Derek Jeter. But don't test him. And that was something that we never got to see publicly. But don't test Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter would keep everybody in line. He expects a certain level of greatness and effort. Most importantly, effort with his teammates. He's the greatest. You know, they always say, like, you know, if I have to pick now, if I have to pick Cal Ripken or Derek Jeter, I'm picking Derek Jeter. You can call me home bias. I don't give a shit.
Oh my
How
God!
many?
I would pick Cheater in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would take Derek Jeter in a heartbeat. I feel like Derek Jeter is the greatest shortstop of all time. You know, I mean, and if you want to call it bias, yeah, go ahead. Sure, I'm biased. Yeah, I was biased when I watched all five championships. He won a fistful of rings. I don't know
He
anybody
also
else in my
collected.
lifetime. Yeah, I don't know anybody else in my lifetime who came through this town that we call New York City and has five rings. Not in my
Well,
lifetime.
I
You
believe,
know.
Jimmy, there's been about 24,000 major league ball players,
Hmm.
and only five have more hits than Derek Jeter.
Right. Right. He's sixth in the history of this game.
How do
The
you? I mean,
idea, the idea
right.
is to swing at a ball and get your ass on base. And only five guys in the history of this game, dating back to recorded what 1880s or whatever, only five have more hits than Derek Jeter.
I get such aggravation on Facebook saying he's overrated. He was a
Oh,
bad
stop!
shortstop. I
Oh,
mean, come
stop
on.
it! No, yeah, I was thinking about that today when I knew that we were going to be talking about shortstops, and I watched every year of his career. I'd never once, during all the billion games I watched Derek Jeter play for the Yankees, ever once did I think to myself, "Oh, he's a defensive liability." It never, ever even came close
No,
to that.
hell no.
So I don't know what these people are talking about. I'm like, what the fuck exactly are you talking about? Derek Jeter was a great defensive shortstop. I don't give a shit if someone else was prettier. Derek Jeter was kind of like the Joe DiMaggio of shortstops. He kind of made everything look easy. And you cannot teach a shortstop that somehow knows to be in between the catcher and the first baseman on an overthrow.
Right.
Take your fancy numbers that you try to argue with on Derek Jeter and shove them where the sun don't shine because no one is doing that. And remember when Derek Jeter was asked about that amazing play where the overthrow came and somehow he's standing between the first baseman and the catcher and then backflips it to the catcher. The quick tag on Jeremy Giambi. What the hell were you doing there? They asked him after the game, and Derek was like, "We practiced that in spring training." Ha! What? Of course, he didn't mean it, but he played it off like, yeah, I was supposed to be there.
Right.
His
Well,
instincts told him to be there. That's the difference between him. You know, like I said, keep your pretty statistics and all that to yourselves, because who else would be doing that? There's no other shortstop that would even have the brain to have the hustle to come all the way from shortstop, which is not around the corner, and to wind up in between first and the catcher on an overthrow. Come on. And people talk about his defense. What are you talking about? And that was the postseason, right, Benny? When he did that, are you kidding me?
well, and I would also argue that he was so smart. They said, like you said, DiMaggio. They would say you never saw DiMaggio run for a fly ball because he
Didn't
knew where
happen.
to play everybody. I think
Yeah,
Jeter was the infield equivalent of that. He knew
he
where to
was.
play the hitter, so he didn't have to roam that far.
No, and he also was a fairly tall kid. We forget that. Derek Jeter's not a little guy.
No,
He,
no,
he,
not at all.
he's a good sized man. He didn't come across as bulky or anything like that because he's just had this amazing gazelle built athletic body. He was just great. What about when the Mets that whole season swore vengeance during the Clemens stuff? Who walks away with the World Series MVP in that World Series? Oh, we got another shortstop doing it, don't we? Don't we?
Right,
You know. So Volpe, no Volpe. When I think about some of the studs that we've had waved in front of us to include Volpe in a package before he was even here, and we refused. You know, uh, look, if they're going to keep him around for the next 5 to 6 years, and he proves us wrong, so be it. But his start has been absolutely abysmal in my eyes. Yeah, you won a Gold Glove. Congratulations. I don't want a shortstop who strikes out the way he does, and his batting average sucks. And that's not my idea of a shortstop.
yeah. Given the players represented, I don't see Volpe in the same class as any of them.
No, no. I guess the main point of this is that if you're going to have a
I mean,
championship team, we all know that the three most important positions, the nucleus traditionally, if you're going to have a championship team on the diamond, you got to be strong at catcher, you got to be strong at shortstop, and you got to be strong at center field. Correct?
right up the middle,
So,
right up the
so
middle.
what are we doing? What are we doing currently? If we can talk today's Yankees, what are we doing when Austin Wells is hitting 181 at catcher? Anthony Volpe is hitting whatever he's hitting, which is terrible, 198 or whatever you said he's hitting. That's awful. Okay, and then center field. All right, but how are you going to win anything if you don't have those positions shored up? Your
Right.
catcher's involved in every single play of every single game. He's got to be able to hit. He's got to be able to hit for average. You can't have this. You can't have this, and you can't have your most important position in the infield,
I mean,
shortstop.
we could go and do like next week, do that same exercise that we just did with the shortstops. We could do it for catcher. And I mean, and
Yeah,
then who you got? You got Bill Dickey, you got Yogi, you got Ellie, you got Posada. I mean,
Thurman.
you got and Thurman. Jeez, I
You got
mean, talk
Thurman.
about a
Yeah.
legacy.
Yep. Yep, Yankees were, but they've not always been spoiled with catchers. If we do visit that, you'll find some very interesting things early. It becomes more predictable later, obviously, like you said with Dickey and stuff. But early on, who were the catchers in the 20s? Maybe we should explore that because that's
Well, I know
interesting stuff.
there was a guy named Benny Bengo who played on
Right?
the 27. I think there was another guy named Pascal, Ben Pascal.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean they were pretty much no name guys.
Right. Interesting stuff. We should definitely check that out in a later episode. Like the
Yeah,
27
I mean
Yankees.
when you got Ruth and who else? We said Earl Combs.
Right.
Who was the other guy that Musel, right? Bob Musel.
Bob Musial. Bob Musial.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean
Oh,
another
yeah.
like that's a guy that really flies under the radar. That guy could hit.
Yeah, his lifetime average was like 309, and he had hit for power. He was a power hitter.
Right.
He'll not get 100 runs. Yeah, he was part of that lineup.
We
He's
just I
he's
mean
the afterthought.
we can't overcompensate for Volpe or Wells. We don't have that good of a team. But you got Judge can't carry the whole load. It's not fair to ask him to do that.
No, but oddly enough, the Yankees are in first place. With all their warts, they're still in first place. Their pitching staff, to me, is very suspect. The closer, you might have put the whammy on him, Benny. I mean, with a 7.88.
I know.
I think it's over for him already because Weaver's like I think Luke feels the force. He's not going to give up the closing role. So
Yeah, but Weaver's been lights out, hasn't he?
with a 0.00 ERA, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and you just wasted a lot of money.
That's my definition of lights out. Yeah.
Yeah. They just wasted a lot of money on a closer because apparently Weaver doesn't want to let it go. He's like, nope, this is mine.
Well, again, how much is Weaver making? There's your incentive, Jimmy. Like
that's what I'm getting at. It's like they should really do 3-year window blocks. That's it. Nope. We're not signing you till 57. The Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla, aren't they? I mean,
I think they got about like 10 more years to go.
I mean, my God, every year he gets a check for $1 million for a contract that fucking petered out in the 90s, and it was a terrible contract, and he's still getting paid $1 million. What the? No, it's not good for baseball. They got to shut that shit down. They never will, though. It's going to continue to get out of control. It's leaking into college sports.
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have practiced harder and played harder in Little League.
I just would have gone into fucking law and become a sports agent. I would have done that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As much as I dislike having to, negotiate and deal with money and stuff like that, because I can't stand it. But if I could look into a crystal ball, I would have been like, I'm just going to make myself a sports agent and talk these guys into value, that they don't even deserve.
Well, I think every week we make compelling arguments about how some of these guys are worth a lot of money and how some of them are not.
Right. The incentive factor, and it's seeped into college too. It's killing college sports because the beauty of college football used to be that these kids were playing for their futures. Now they're already becoming millionaires before they get on an NFL field. So what's the point?
Right. Yeah. Once you remove that carrot, it's a rare breed that's going to play just as hard, regardless of the money. But there aren't too many like that.
Right. You know what? It happens in music too. You can see it in bands when they start to make it. Some of the early albums from some of the greatest bands are so raw and so hungry, and you can tell that they're trying to make it, and then they make it, and then it turns into a product where you feel like they're going through the motions. Kiss is an exquisite example of that to the fans because when they first started, they were groundbreaking. They weren't just a great live show. They were a great rock band, and they were writing raw, hungry material. And then they got really popular, and they were selling lunch boxes to kids to go to school.
Hawking the merch.
And you can see that the music was suffering from it. And it's the same way with this. When you make it, you lose your incentive, and very few. That's why as I continue to look at number 2, he's the exception to the rule. Do you have any idea how lucky we were to have a guy who played for us for 20 seasons and never gave us less than everything?
Oh yeah.
Emotionally, physically, mentally, was the perfect shining example to his teammates. I mean, my God, will we ever see another one like him? I feel like he's John Cena of the New York Yankees. Will there ever be?
I mean,
Aaron Judge
and
is
then we
being
had
that.
guys like, we had
Yeah,
Mo who did kind of the same thing. We had Bernie,
Mariano. We've had some great,
Posada.
great,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, we've had some great, great Yankees. I mean, Aaron Judge is doing that, but Aaron needs that ring. I would
yeah,
hate for Aaron
yeah.
to. I would hate for Aaron to wind up where Donnie is. Because Donnie doesn't have a ring. That's why I always hope Donnie will come back and manage us to a championship. I'm like, please give this guy one more shot at winning a championship with the Yankees. It's just, I feel
I
he'd be a
think
better manager than Aaron. But what do I know?
when Judge wins the World Series and he wins the MVP in the World Series, we have
Yeah.
to arrange a call between him and Mike Monty.
Well, look, Mike's a bottom line guy. Sometimes I agree with him. It depends on the circumstances. Aaron Judge, if he does not win a championship, I'll agree with him on this much. He will be a Ewing or a Lundqvist. And in New York, that's frustrating. Patrick Ewing is one of the greatest centers to ever play basketball, but he never got the championship. A loyal Nick till the end, tried to be at least. Always gave 1,000%. Same thing for Lundqvist, goaltender for a decade and a half or whatever. Got to a final just like Patrick, didn't win it. Hall of Fame, both of them. I would hate to see Aaron Judge wind up in that category. And Donnie should be in the Hall of Fame too. We know that anyway. But Donnie is the one great Yankee without the ring. You go to Monument Park and you look and you see all these greats, and Donnie belongs there. And
Absolutely.
Donnie's Patrick Ewing. I would hate to see Aaron Judge be another Patrick Ewing. Sucks.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, he's got time, but I mean, he's not a young guy. He's going to be 33, I think, next month.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's only got a few more like peak years, I would say.
I'm hoping he can give 5 more, like take it to 37, 38 before we start to see diminishing signs. I
Right.
think if he puts in another 5 more years, he's sailboating into the Hall of Fame. And by 5 more years,
Oh, absolutely.
by 5 more years, I'll take like in the 5th year if he's hitting 32 home runs and knocking in 110 RBIs and hitting 286. I won't be mad at him. He'll be 38. You know what I mean?
If
It's
if he keeps
you
it up
know.
this year and stays healthy, that now you got 3 MVPs.
Yes,
I mean,
if he stays
you
healthy, he's basically going to wind up with Mickey Mantle kind of numbers. Without the championship, though, man, that's rough.
yeah, you need that ring. You got to have that ring.
Yep. Another reason why
I
Soto
mean,
sucks. He should
I
have stayed.
I mean, I want. I don't even like. I just want. I want it for me as a Yankee fan, a long-suffering Yankee fan that's been
Right.
waiting for it for a long time. I mean, it'll be nice that he's associated with it. We deserve it for all the work we
Well,
put in all these years.
well, you know what? I don't. I'll never refer to myself as long suffering, because of their history. Because
Well,
see, I
no, but I
can't.
mean, it's been a while though.
It has been a while, but I can't have it both ways because trust me, the history has won me many arguments. So when there are
Right.
shortages, when there are droughts like this, I've lived through a longer one than this, and so did you. From 79 to 95, there was a wait. It was longer than this one, but this one's getting close. Uh, I get frustrated, but I don't feel like I'm a long suffering fan of the New York Yankees. The Yankees, for the
No,
most part, have given me nothing but winning seasons and the more championships than any other team I root for. And some people, the younger fans, all they've seen is Boston winning. So they think that, Boston is, the shit. And they're not. We know they're not. We've been around long enough to. The Red Sox would have to win 3 more titles before they tie what I've seen the Yankees do in my lifetime. I'm comfortable with that. The Yankees do need to win a title soon. It better happen
yeah.
in the next few years, But to think we're ever going to see what Joe Torre and Derek gave us all those years ago is silly because it
Oh
almost
my
took
God.
50 years for us to see that. It had been almost 50 years before that the Yankees were that good.
We were spoiled. We were spoiled. So, Jimmy, I'm
We
gonna
were.
put a bow on this one. Say another great
Yes,
episode
sir.
of the Baseball Bums in the books. If you love
Mm-hmm.
chatting about the great game of baseball, you're in the right place. And if you're looking for some great content and even some epic non-wrestling content, please hit the like and subscribe button and become a part of the Monty and the Farrow family. And we are truly family. And Mr. Farrow, would you do the honors and lead us home?
You've been watching the Baseball Bums. And until next week, later.